Welcome to Hockey Whiz Talks podcast. Today I'll be talking about what is wrong with the Detroit Red Wings. The Detroit Red Wings were the worst team in the NHL this season by a country mile. The next worst team in the league were the Ottawa Senators, and they were 23 points ahead of them in the standings. In today's podcast, I'll be talking about the issues with the Detroit Red Wings and how to fix them. There are many reasons why the Detroit Red Wings are struggling, but here are the major reasons why. 1. Bad trades and signings. 2. Bad contracts for old washed-up veterans. 3. Horrible offensive and defensive depth. 4. Abysmal goaltending. And 5. Bad drafting in the last few years. The Detroit Red Wings have had many bad trades and signings in the past decade. Here are some of them. In 2009, Johan Franzen was re-signed to an 11-year deal worth $3.95 million per season. The issue with Franzen's contract isn't the cap hit. The cap hit actually isn't too bad. It's the length of the contract. Let's face it, Franzen was never going to be able to play all 11 years of the contract, especially with his playstyle. After playing in 2 games in the 2015-16 season, Franzen has yet to play a game for the Red Wings, so they have had him on long-term IR for almost 5 seasons. In 2013, Stephen Weiss was signed to a 5-year deal worth $4.9 million per season. This was one of those free agent signings that just didn't pan out. At the time, Stephen Weiss was a decent player. He just didn't fit in with the Red Wings. Weiss played in just 55 games with the Red Wings before being bought out for the remainder of his contract. The Red Wings are still paying Weiss $1.06 million per season until the end of the 2021 season. In 2014, Jonathan Ericsson was re-signed to a 6-year deal worth $4.25 million per season. This was as bad a contract as there is in the NHL. Ericsson is a fringe NHL defenseman at best, yet he managed to get this contract. How Ericsson managed to land this contract is beyond me, because he has never put up more than 20 points in his career. In 2016, Justin Abdelkader was re-signed to a 7-year deal worth $4.25 million per season. Justin Abdelkader had just put up back-to-back 40-plus point seasons, playing alongside Henrik Zetterberg. Zetterberg was forced to retire after the 2018 season, and as a result, Abdelkader's production dropped off a cliff. Abdelkader still has 3 years left on his contract that will pay him $4.25 million per season. In 2016, Dan DeKeyser was re-signed to a 6-year deal worth $5 million per season. DeKeyser hasn't been productive since signing this big contract. In the first season of the contract, DeKeyser only had 12 points in 82 games, and was a minus 22. The next 2 seasons, DeKeyser would miss a combined 47 games, and this season, he played in only 8 games. In 2016, Darren Helm was re-signed to a 5-year deal worth $3.85 million per season. Darren Helm is a glorified fourth liner and was rewarded with this massive contract in the summer of 2016. 4 years later, the Red Wings are really regretting this contract because nobody is trading for a fourth liner getting paid this much. In 2016, Frans Nielsen was signed to a 6-year deal worth $5.25 million per season. Nielsen is already 35 and is going to be making $5.25 million per season for the next 2 years. This season, Nielsen had his lowest point total since his rookie season, putting up only 9 points in 60 games, while being a minus 13. Acquiring Kyle Quincy from the Tampa Bay Lightning for Sebastian Piche and a first-round pick in 2012, which turned into Andrei Vasilevsky. This is going to go down as one of the worst trades in the decade for the Red Wings. Not only was Quincy a bad acquisition for the Red Wings, but to make things worse for the Red Wings, the Lightning ended up picking a Vezina-caliber goalie in Vasilevsky. Acquiring Eric Cole and a 3rd-round pick in 2015 from the Dallas Stars for Matthias Janmark, Matthias Backman, and a 2nd-round pick in 2015 used to select Roope Hintz. This turned into a horrible trade for the Red Wings, as Eric Cole only played in 11 games for Detroit, while Roope Hintz has turned into a budding star for the Dallas Stars, and Matthias Janmark is also a solid role player. Trading Peter Mrazek to the Philadelphia Flyers for a conditional 3rd-round pick in 2018 and a 4th-round pick in 2019. Peter Mrazek had a down year split between Detroit and Philly, but then revived his career with Carolina. He is a solid starting goalie in the NHL, but you need to have a stable backup on hand for when he goes through a rough patch. Mrazek is better than Jimmy Howard or Jonathan Bernier, so giving up on Mrazek so early is a huge mistake. These bad trades and signings set the Red Wings back and are part of the reasons why the Detroit Red Wings are so bad right now. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Also visit my Facebook page, Mr. HockeyWiz777, and my Instagram, Mr. HockeyWiz77. Another major issue with the Red Wings is that they're playing old veteran players big contracts. Frans Nielsen, Justin Applicator, and Darren Helm make a combined $13.35 million per season, but they only have 28 points combined this season. Jonathan Ericsson, Trevor Daley, and Dan DeKeyser make a combined $12.41 million per season, yet they have only played in 69 games combined this season. Jimmy Howard and Jonathan Bernier make a combined $7 million per season and have both been terrible. These 8 players make a combined $32.76 million this season, but it's not really the cap hit that's really the issue. It's that these players that are getting paid the big contracts are not producing. This doesn't even include Johan Franzen and Henrik Zetterberg, who make a combined $10.03 million this season and are both on long-term IR. $10 million is enough to sign another star player that can really make an impact for the team. Because these older washed-up veterans were signed to these bad long-term deals, they were not able to lock up players such as Anthony Mantha, Tyler Bertuzzi, and Andreas Athanasiou, who was dealt to Edmonton. This offseason, the Red Wings have around $37 million in cap space to re-sign a couple key RFAs. Among them are Anthony Mantha, Tyler Bertuzzi, Robbie Fabry, Brandon Perlini, and Madison Bowie. Another huge issue for the Red Wings is that their depth on offense and defense is terrible. Their second line is really bad. It should be a fourth line on a good team. A line of Darren Helm, Valtteri Filppula, and Sam Gagner just isn't going to scare anyone as a second line in the NHL. A third line of Timashov, Fabry, and Glendening isn't good either. That could be another fourth line. Essentially, the Red Wings are playing 3 fourth lines. The first D pair of Trevor Daley and Philip Hronek isn't very good. That's really a second pair at best. The second pair of Madison Bowie and Alex Biega is even worse. This should be the third pair. Their third D pair of Jonathan Ericsson and Gustav Lindstrom is an AHL D pair. Because the offensive and defensive depth is terrible, their secondary scoring is non-existent, and they have allowed the most goals against in the league. Goaltending is another issue for the Red Wings, although there's only so much they can do if the team in front of them is terrible. Jimmy Howard and Jonathan Bernier have split goaltending duties this season, with Bernier outplaying Howard. Jimmy Howard is .223-2 with a 4.20 GAA and .882 save percentage. Jonathan Bernier is 15-22-3 with a 2.95 GAA and .907 save percentage and a shutout. Jimmy Howard was absolutely dreadful this season. Having only 2 wins the entire season is unspeakably bad. The good news for the Red Wings is that Howard is a UFA in 2020, so they can move forward with another number 1 goalie. The Detroit Red Wings historically have been known for drafting well, but that isn't the case in the past decade. From 2010 to 2016, the Detroit Red Wings have flopped with a lot of early draft picks. Here are the draft results of the Red Wings from 2010 to 2016. In 2010, the Red Wings selected Riley Sheahan over Evgeny Kuznetsov with the 21st pick. With the 51st pick, they selected Kalle Järnkrok over John Klingberg. In 2011, they selected Thomas Jurko with the 38th pick over Nikita Kucherov, Xavier Ouellet with the 48th pick over Jordan Binnington, and Ryan Spool with the 55th pick over Johnny Gaudreau. In 2012, the Red Wings selected Martin Frk with the 49th pick over Jacob Slavin. In 2013, the Red Wings selected Anthony Mantha with the 20th pick, Zach Natashuk with the 48th pick over Anthony Duclair, and Tyler Bertuzzi with the 58th pick. In 2014, the Red Wings selected Dylan Larkin. In 2015, the Red Wings selected Evgeny Svechnikov over Sebastian Aho. In 2016, the Red Wings selected Denis Chalowski with the 20th pick over Samuel Girard, Giovanni Smith with the 46th pick over Carter Hart, and Philip Hronek with the 53rd pick. If the Red Wings had drafted properly, they could have continued their dominance while not having to overpay for old washed-up veterans. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my other podcasts on SoundCloud.com/MrHockey with 777. In order to fix the Red Wings, we need to go back and undo all the bad contracts. This means that Frans Nielsen and Stephen Weiss are not signed, and Justin Applicator, Darren Helm, and Jonathan Ericsson are not re-signed. Also, the Red Wings do not sign Valtteri Filppula because the Red Wings are rebuilding. Johan Franzen's contract is shortened from 11 years to 6 years, and because his contract is shortened from 11 years to 6 years, his cap hit is raised from $3.9 million to $5.2 million. The Red Wings don't trade for Kyle Quincy, so they keep their first round pick in 2012, so that means they end up with Andrei Vasilevsky. The Red Wings don't trade for Eric Cole, so they keep their picks and prospects. This means the Red Wings now have both Roope Hintz and Matthias Janmark. Because the Red Wings now have Andrei Vasilevsky, Jordan Binnington, and Carter Hart, this allows the Red Wings to trade Peter Mrazek. This also means the Red Wings don't sign Jonathan Bernier. Detroit Red Wings trade Peter Mrazek to the Carolina Hurricanes for a second-round pick in 2018 and a third-round pick in 2019. The second-round pick in 2018 turns into Akil Thomas, and the third-round pick in 2019 turns into Antoni Honka. Akil Thomas is a pretty good prospect, and Antoni Honka is a high-risk, high-reward prospect. Jamie Howard does not get re-signed for the 2019-2020 season. The Detroit Red Wings make a few trades to fill out the roster. Detroit Red Wings trade Andrei Vasilevskiy to the Calgary Flames for Noah Hanifin, Oliver Kylington, Dylan Dubé, and a first-round pick in 2020. The Flames get a star goalie in Andrei Vasilevskiy, while the Red Wings solve their issues on defense and add some nice young players. Sebastian Aho is traded to the Ottawa Senators for a first-round pick in 2020 from San Jose, a first-round pick in 2020 from the New York Islanders, and a first-round pick in 2022. Due to salary cap restrictions, it would be wise for Detroit to trade Aho. On the other hand, the Senators could really use a stud number 1 center. This is how the lineup looks like at the beginning of the 2019-2020 season. The first line is Tyler Bertuzzi, Evgeny Kuznetsov, and Nikita Kucherov. The second line is Johnny Gaudreau, Dylan Larkin, and Anthony Mantha. The third line is Roope Hintz, Dylan Dubé, and Anthony Duclair. The fourth line is Matthias Janmark, Robbie Fabry, and Michael Rasmussen. First D pair, Jacob Slavin and John Klingberg. Second D pair, Sam Girard and Noah Hanifin. Third D pair, Oliver Kylington and Philip Hronuk. Goalies are Jordan Binnington and Carter Hart. The spares are Philip Zadina, Akil Thomas, and Madison Bowie. With the changes made to the team, the Red Wings seem like they could be contenders as soon as the 2021-2022 season. On my next podcast, I'll be talking about what is wrong with the LA Kings.